Alright, hello everyone and welcome back. This is Made by Boo. I am Shannon and I am coming to you from a little bit outside of Boise, Idaho. And I am just going to chat with you about the things I've been making. Mostly we have knit and crochet today. Still I'm kind of hoping to get into some sewing again soon, but I haven't quite had the time and push to get my sewing machine actually going, like to actually choose the pattern or project or whatever it is I want to work on. So instead, we'll stick to the yarn for today. I actually feel slightly organized right now. I'm so proud of myself. Alright, so I have 3 finished objects. I have 3 works in progress of note and a little bit of plans and acquisitions. So let's go ahead and dive into it. The first finished object I have is a blanket. I know it's going to be really hard to see the whole thing because it is a giant granny square. So it was made using 4 of the Karen Colorama Ogo Halo. Yeah. They were in the color Graphite Frost. They were just 4 that happened to be in my stash, and one of my children said they would like a blanket. Mostly to just kind of, they wanted it to sit on their lap at their desk, maybe cuddle up around their shoulders, and one of their favorite colors is gray, and it actually works out really well. I had to steal this back from her, where her cat has mostly been claiming it, but the color of her cat kind of blends in well with the fuzz of this blanket, so I can hold it up and show you, and it does not seem entirely cat hair covered. So it is decently sized. Like, I'm sitting in a chair holding it up over my neck, and it is down over my feet. So it is definitely a big cuddle one, plenty of space for the human and the cat. And it was just a solid granny square. So instead of granny clusters, it was all double crochet in a ever-increasing square. Not a lot to say, just a finished blanket. After I finished all my studying and passed my BCBA exam, like, this was one of those where I was really pushing through in the last of the studying because it was nice and simple, and so I really pushed through to finish it, and the cat cuddled up in it first, of course, but eventually the human did get a turn, and now they're both happy to have that blanket done. My next finished object, I actually have the labels where I know where they are. So this is a pair of socks using Hobbie's Halloween Sock Wool Glitter. It is a superwash wool. So it's 73% wool, 25% polyamide, and 2% polyester. So I'm not 100% sure I'm happy with these socks. So I decided to do fully ribbed socks, 2x2 rib, and these have like some big thick stripes, so I did not want to do like the heel flap or a short row heel or anything, and I went back and did an afterthought heel. But honestly, I really don't like doing afterthought heels. I don't enjoy working them. I don't always feel like they fit well, and I definitely feel like I got, it's gonna be a little hard to show since they're not on blockers or anything, but like, you can kind of, let me see. I mean, I definitely feel like I got gaps. I'm not sure if I got the foot the right length. I'm not totally happy with these, mostly just because I thought the afterthought heel would be a smart idea because it would look better, and I do think it looks good. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be totally happy with the fit. I finished them. I haven't blocked them yet, so There's enough wool in here, superwash or not, that I'm going to block it and see how it fits after that. If they're a little small for me, I do have at least one child that would enjoy some nice warm woolly socks that it's slightly smaller feet than me. It was nothing really wrong with the wool or anything, why I'm not totally happy with it, but I think it was just really a bad choice for doing the afterthought heel. I know I don't like it. I know I don't like how it fits. I don't know why I decided to try it again. I'm sure I'll try it again at some point anyways. But these are a finished pair of socks. The last finished objects I have, I actually made these. So the yarn was kind of part of acquisitions. For the last year, so for a few years I have made pumpkins around Halloween, fall. Some of them were hand knit. I've got at least one crocheted downstairs. And then recently I got Addi knitting machines in the king size and the little express size. And so I've been making some pumpkins on that because I can make some quick enough to make some fun new colors for me every year, but also make enough to send some out as gifts. So I purchased a couple of colors. I got, this is Loops and Thread Impeccable Acrylic Yarn in the color Hot Sunshine Speckle. And this was, I made like 3 big pumpkins and 4 little pumpkins in this color. And then so the little pumpkins have about 30 rows on my tiny Addi machine and then about 50 rows on the big Addi machine for a big pumpkin. And then I sew them with the little things, and I like to just kind of, I usually glue the cinnamon stick in because I want it to be secure. But then you also get that nice little like scent of fall out while they're out. So I know this is not exactly a very, very fall color, but I thought it would be kind of fun to add to my colors. So I got 2 skeins of this, and I did use all of both of them on those pumpkins. And then the other color I got, it was the Impeccable Yarn, also from Loops and Threads, 100% acrylic. Oh, there it is, yeah. 100% acrylic in the color Baked Clay. And for these ones, I have made 3 small pumpkins, same where it was 30 rows cinnamon stick. And I have made 4 big pumpkins, 50 rows with the cinnamon stick, and I still have about a half a ball left over. So these ones just had a little bit more yarn. Ooh. But it was enough that I have some pumpkins to add to my collection, and I like having them just be basic pumpkins because then I can have them out from Halloween all the way through Thanksgiving and feel like they are still very appropriate seasonal decorations. And I just like varying the colors every year. So I have the sets with the 2 big pumpkins and the 2 little pumpkins for me, for my in-laws, and for my mom. And then I'm also working, because I have some extra of the baked clay, I will be visiting family for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to bring some for them when we go to visit for, you know, little Thanksgiving decor for them. So that is all of my finished objects. A nice, quick and easy run through. I know these ones are slightly different finished objects because they were made on the knitting machine. So like, they're finished, but I finished a lot of them quickly because it was the knitting machine. And I even recently got one of those drill attachments. So I did all of the knitting and the stuffing in one day, and then I sewed them up this morning, and I think the cinnamon sticks are done drying, so I'll be able to pack some up to mail out soon. I personally do, like, I see the arguments on both sides of using knitting machines and calling it hand knitting. And I wouldn't call it hand knitting. But it is still technically knitting, and for some people it is the knitting that's accessible to them, and sometimes it's just fun. Like, these made great pumpkins, and this way I can make new ones for several people every year. It makes me happy. So, that is all my finished objects. Let me slightly adjust. I've got a little more room around me today, but still not quite enough. And then we can get into works in progress. All right, so I have 3 works in progress that I have been actively working on. I don't think the people who I'm making gifts for watch regularly, but just in case, I'll cover up names. So I finished my studying, finished taking my BCBA exam, and I was just like exhausted and trying to reorganize and all of that. I still feel like I'm expelling stress from my body and realizing I have time in my life again, and trying to figure out, do I actually have time in my life again? But part of that was trying to figure out, with all of these things that I'm working on and all of these things that I want to work on, how do I figure out my life? And one of my kiddos, I was just kind of sitting there rambling on, and they were basically like, well, figure it out. We sat and we talked it out, and we started by making a list. I know you probably won't be able to read this, but it was just kind of one of those where it's like, all right, what do I have that I'm currently working on? What has a deadline? What are tiny little things that just need a little bit of finishing? And kind of figured out and prioritized, and I actually think that I may be restarting this list because I crossed so many things off it, but it does kind of have me back in a little bit of like zone knitting, where I have a project in my car, a project downstairs, and a project upstairs, and I am basing them on about how much time I have to work in each of these areas, and then maybe trying to sneak in different projects on the weekends when I have a little bit more time. So, going from least amount of time day to day to most, we will start with a pair of socks. These have been my downstairs project. So that's maybe about a half an hour a night. I might have time to work on these in between like dinner, kids' baths, and moving on with my night. So this is the Zodiac collection by Freckled Whimsy. It is the color Libra. So this is a 12-stripe self-striping hand-dyed yarn, a 4-ply fingering that is a 75-25% merino nylon blend. I've got the ball right here. It's obviously going to be a little hard to see the stripe pattern in this, and it came with the contrasting red. I actually had thought I might be done with this first sock by the time I started today, but alas, it did not happen. You can tell I was a little confident because I didn't even bother putting in a stitch marker last time, 2 weeks ago. But I was, I believe, just at the end or maybe halfway through making the heel flap. I think I was about to pick up for the gusset. So I did a little bit of the contrast color right up here at the top, went through the 12 stripes, contrast heel, where I decided to do a 1x1 rib on the heel. I have no idea why. And then I am now just working through the foot. I have gotten through 12 stripes. I'm working these on 2.5 millimeter. A lot of times I will do my socks on 3 millimeter, which is a little bigger than I know most people use. I only have one set of 2.5 millimeters, so I figured this one, where I was not going to be splitting the ball into 2, would be a good one to try it on. And then we'll see how the slightly tighter weave fits. Most of the time I don't go for like the super form-fitting hand knit socks. I think it's just, I don't know. When I first started knitting them, I lived in a place that was a lot warmer, so maybe that was part of it. And then even a 0.5 millimeter bigger on the needles, it feels like they go a lot faster, which is probably part of why I thought I'd be done with this sock. I'm thinking I'm going to have maybe another 6 stripes on here before I'm getting ready to do the toe, but I'm not 100% sure. And then I will decide whether or not I'm going to do a contrast toe once I know how many stripes, because I really don't want to be pulling like 11 stripes out to start at the next pattern repeat. That's just a lot of wasted yarn. So if it's going to be like that, like if it might be that close, then I will do a contrast toe. If not, I may just let it go all the way through and use up as much of the stripe pattern as possible. So that has been kind of my small bits of knitting. That one will probably move to car knitting next, which is my next project. When this one comes inside, I may flip-flop them this week. I'm not 100% sure because I am so close to the end of that sock. Kind of makes it hard to decide what I want to do. But the car knitting that I currently have is a Mussleburgh Hat. The pattern is by Ysolda Teague, and I am using Evergreen Yarn Studio yarn in the color Trick or Treat. So I have quite a bit on this one. So last time I showed it, I was all the way down here at this bat. And then over the last 2 weeks, I got this much up to about this point in the first week. And then I got a little bit more done this week. So as you can see, kind of pretty far along. I was planning on going until I hit about 10 to 15 grams of yarn left. And I weighed my yarn this morning and I'm at 23 grams. So I'm trying to decide which of these two projects it makes sense to work on in the car and which it makes sense to work on as my downstairs knitting right now, because I will have to keep weighing this one, but I'm also going to have to keep measuring that one as I get close to the toe. So both have their advantages in each place. They're both not quite... like, they're both still at just a stockinette point, but getting close to a transition. And transitioning to the toe of the sock, I don't mind doing that as car knitting. It's just the measuring. I'm not sure how well I will be able to do that. I normally will measure my socks based on the needle length with the needles I normally use. The needles I'm using now are slightly shorter, so I can't just like lay my needle out on the sock and be like, oh, okay, well, it's that long. I know that's probably not the normal way of measuring, but yeah, also needing to use, I mean, my scale is tiny. So technically I could have this in the car, but unless it's laying flat, I'm not going to be getting like an accurate measurement. So I'm not 100% sure which one is going to be where next week. But for now, this has been car knitting, and the sock has been inside knitting. And as you can see, the car knitting has served this hat very, very well. I kind of wanted to have it done by Halloween, but today is Saturday, the 28th. So I might be able to make it, but I feel like I'd have to really push it hard to get it done. And I'm not sure if I want to abandon everything else for that. So with the everything else, the last project I have, this has been my upstairs knitting, and that's usually about an hour to an hour and a half a night, depending on a lot of factors, of course. This project is the Gorm sweater. I know I'm saying that wrong. It is a free pattern from Hobbii, G-O-R-M. This is a gift for someone in my life, so there's a lot of details I'm not sharing. But it is being made using fisherman's wool from Lion brand in the color Nature's Brown. I don't think I showed this one last time. Previously, I have been through the body because it is knit from the bottom up. And so I'm at the point up here where the body is done and I needed to make the arms and then attach them. So last weekend I cast on the first arm, and this was just kind of my upstairs knitting all week. I've got the first arm done, and now I'm hoping to cast on the second arm and get it going this weekend, so that hopefully during the week I can kind of do the same thing, get the second arm done, get them attached and just keep going, because I feel like I'm getting close to the end of this sweater, which is great because it is meant to be a Christmas gift, but it's a Christmas gift for one person, but there's another person who I'm also working on a knitted Christmas gift for, and it's kind of one of those where I feel like they both have to be finished before either person can have them. Again, without giving too many details, just in case, I don't think they would be watching. But you never want to ruin a surprise, just in case. So that is all of my works in progress. I do, of course, still have other works in progress because I do still have my list. I haven't done a lot of work on my cross stitch because it was just one of those where it's like, all right, focus, get some of these done. The cross stitches from me, I can finish that at any time. But if I want gifts done in time to mail out for Christmas that are big gifts, I should work on those. And then it was also like, it's too late to get my summer shirt done in time for summer. So that one can back burner. My data blanket is just going to take a long time. I did get a couple of rows done on it this last week, but just a couple of rows, not enough to really feel like I should share it. So that is all my works in progress. Let me readjust again, pull my acquisitions closer, and we can talk some more about those. All right, so mostly what I have here, I did mention that I got some new acquisition yarn. For the pumpkins, that was just a quick pop into Michael's over the last weekend. Got that, but it's already been worked up, so I can't share that here. I do still have a little bit of Halloween pre-orders to show. One more yarn that I have not opened yet. I have my subscription box from So Happy Jane. Couple of things, so let me just go ahead and dive right into it. So the first thing I will show comes from FanGirl Fibers. This was the 5 weeks of campfire stories, kind of an advent. It was like a weekly advent. So I believe I already showed these. This is the color 7th Barn and Yakima Bay Lighthouse. The 2 new ones I have, these came with tote bags and stitch markers, but the tote bags were already put to work by the time I showed these. Not so in these other cases. The stitch markers, they're kind of small, so I didn't show them. So there is the color Haunted, which I really love this one. And it came with this really cute reading ghost tote bag. And then this color, Bloody Mary. So it's looking, I mean, it's really picking up as almost fluorescent. It is very, very bright, but it's not actually fluorescent. I asked one of my kids, like, what story do you think this was? And they just answered blood. And I was like, well, you're halfway there. Bloody Mary. And it came with this really fun campfire ghost tote bag. So I don't use tote bags a lot. But they are nice to have. Like, keep one in your car for if you are going shopping. They make great project bags. I mean, the reason why 2 of them are already being used is transporting stuff to and from work. I have been really enjoying this. I have 1 more left. Technically, it's supposed to be opened on Halloween night, but I have actually been opening these a little early. They were supposed to be every Tuesday of the month, but I've been opening them on the Sunday before because that's when I have a little bit more time. I have a small child, so I definitely don't have time on Halloween night. I still don't know what I'm going to do with them. I had been thinking of maybe putting them all into one project together, but it was like, well, let me see what the colors look like before. These 3, it was still like, oh, maybe. I'm not sure that Bloody Mary really coordinates in the same way. So I don't know. These might be hats. These might be socks. I might combine them with other things I have. I genuinely don't know, and we'll see what the 5th color looks like because maybe that will be the deciding factor. So that is the 5 weeks of Campfire Stories set from FanGirl Fibers. One more yarn coming for that. Also from FanGirl Fibers. So this is for a Halloween night cast on. So if you have ordered this Halloween pre-order Ghostbusters Halloween night cast on and you have not opened it and you do not want to see it, now would be a really good time to look away. I personally decided that I was going to open it right away, and then I still don't know what the pattern is. We shall find out. I just have a little message letting me know that the pattern that came with the kit I ordered, they had a knit set and a crochet set. I requested the crochet set with the pattern from Alt Knots because I happen to like her as well, and they said that will be emailed to me on Halloween. So if you do not want to see the yarn from this set, look away now. So the colors were Slimer. Again, coming up a little fluorescent, but not too bad as far. It is a very, very bright green, and this is a DK weight yarn. And then the other color is Stay Puffed, which I'll turn it that way so you can see some of the little bits of the blue and everything. It also came with a very fun travel cup. I've been using this to take my coffee to work ever since it arrived. And then I've got 3 stitch markers. So it's got the Ghostbusters logo, the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man, and a tiny Slimer. I know I'm not going to be able to get good focus on them, but they're the very lightweight wooden ones that are kind of like laser engraved in, and they have the lobster clasp, I think it is, or is it a flip back clasp? I don't know. It's the ones that, like, I swear I used to have earrings that were like this, where it fully opens as a hinge, so it's very good for knitting, for crochet. It can fit a wide range of needles and yarns, and I like how they're very easy to open and close, so I really like that. And then the last thing this set came with was a project bag. And it's just a nice drawstring project bag. I'm not 100% sure if I'm actually going to cast on Halloween night. I'm kind of waiting to see what the pattern is. I like the color Slimer there, but if it's something like a cowl or a hat, like if it's something that is a wearable, the bright green is not something that I am as likely to wear myself. So if that's the case and that's what it is, I may not cast on right away and wait and decide what I want to do instead with the bright green yarn. If it's something like socks, I might. I'm not 100% sure. I like the mystery, but I'm trying to make sure that with my large number of projects I want to do and my limited time, just because life, that I am choosing to make the projects that make me happy. So making something with a bunch of other people could be a lot of fun, but I'm not going to do it just for that reason if I'm not 100% sure that I want the item then. But I do like the designs that Alt Knots does. A lot of times they're easy to follow, very beginner friendly, even if you're not a beginner, which sometimes is just really, really nice to have. Like, I don't want to think hard about every single project all the time. So I don't know, maybe you will see that project started next time. Maybe you will not see that yarn for a while. Maybe I will not get around to making it until next Halloween. Maybe I'll see it and the bright green will be perfect for that project will be perfect for someone I know. Who knows? I'm trying to keep my options open. So I do still have a little bit more after that little ramble. So this is, I guess technically this was a Halloween pre-order. This was the Practical Magic sock set from Little Bloom Yarn. I got a nice little mint tea. I did not realize was still up here. A set of beaded wire stitch markers. And then here was the sock set. Got a lot of purples and just kind of a nice deep in the woods look. This is one of the ones where I'm considering caking it up for when I have an opening, but I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself. I have so many things that I do want to do still and so many projects that I'm in the middle of that I'm trying not to get overly enthusiastic about some things. But I really like this. I don't think it's just fall or just Halloween. I think it's very fall colors. And with the deep blues and the purple, I feel like it's something that will go well into winter. So, I don't know. These socks, I feel like I really want to make them soon. Yeah. So, one last bit of yarn. And then I do still have one other thing. So, this is my Hand-Dyed Happy Yarn Club box from So Happy Jane. This month's theme was pumpkin spice. And these were my yarns. Okay, so this lighting today is really blowing everything out. This one looks somewhat true to color. This is definitely more orange than my screen is making it look. On the screen it seems to look a little bit red, but it is a nice deep pumpkin-y orange. Almost like a brown pumpkin orange, like very much pumpkin spice, like with the dark cinnamons and everything. Not just pumpkin, but spicy pumpkin, I guess? I don't know if I'm describing that well, but very fall for both of them. It also came with some pumpkin caramels, which did not make it to today, and a little yarn sweater from Fox and Pine Stitches that has pumpkins and little leaves, and I'm not sure what I am going to put this on, but I really want to use it right away. I don't know which cake of yarn is going to get in this, if it's going to be something I'm already working on or one of my upcoming projects. If I move my socks to the car, I may put this on it to help keep it a little neater. But that was the So Happy Jane box for October. And then the last acquisition I have, oh, my camera's running out, hold on. Okay, sorry. The last acquisition I have actually just arrived this morning. So this is a knitting book. I am not sure if and when I'm going to get around to knitting anything in this, but this is the book Knitting California by Nancy Bates. So I have the book she previously wrote where it was knitting the national parks, and it's just a bunch of beanies based on the national park system. And then I happened to get the recommendation of Knitting California. I grew up in California. I still have family in California, so it was like, ooh. I don't know if you're going to go state by state, but there's several states I would definitely buy, and obviously California was one. And I've already flipped through it, and there's several where it's like, ooh, I would knit that for me. And some of them I even looked at, and it's like, I could easily adjust that to something else that I want to do. I mean, some of them, oh, let's see if I can find it. Like this one, the lumberjack, like that's Knitting California, but I feel like there's a whole bunch of people that would just like that in general, California or not. Let me see if I can see it. Of course, I'm not going to have trouble finding it. This one is actually a better picture on the front of the Golden Gate Bridge. I feel like my mother, who lived in San Francisco for a while, would love that one. Oh, here it is. So this one, based on the monarch butterfly there. See if I can get another good picture of it for you. I was just looking at that, and it's like, ooh. Doesn't that kind of look like stained glass old stained glass cathedral. Like, that seems like something where orange, yes, for the monarch butterfly, but you could almost put anything in there and it would just look like a gorgeous stained glass window. I could see a lot of like variegated yarns in there, mixed in with those black, and I don't know. I'm very excited. There's so many patterns in here I like. And I'm not sure when I will get to them. I'm not a big hat wearer. I'm not even that big on color work. I don't know why I keep buying these color work hat books, but they're gorgeous and they make me want to be better at color work. So that is all of my everything. That is all my finished objects, all of my works in progress, all of my acquisitions. So I guess last is life and upcoming projects. I actually do have things from life now that I am no longer in school and studying. I went out to a local theater last night with my child and we saw Carrie the musical. Someone I work with was in it and it was absolutely amazing. They did a stunning job. It was this little kind of like a historical building. So they had the stage and that was like Carrie's house, and then most of the action actually happened on the floor in front of us. So the seats were this U shape. And so all of the singing and most of the singing and dancing was like right there in front of us. You had people like coming in and out of the aisles to make use of the entire space. So they got very creative with it. And while, I mean, Carrie, if you're familiar with the story, has a lot to do with like high school kids. So a lot of the actors were very young. In a space like that, I'm sure that they have room to grow with projecting, especially when they're not facing all of the audience. But there was some strong voices in that cast. They did amazing, and I am sure that these people will continue to do well if that is what they want to do. Of course, I've been working a lot. That's just not ever going to change because, you know, capitalism. You still have a certain amount of hours you have to work every week in order to maintain your job and paying your bills and, you know, buying yarn. So there's that. That's not quite as exciting. I haven't quite gotten back into reading after everything else. I've got several books, but I haven't quite found the one that is really getting my attention. I've mostly just been catching up on podcasts and things like that I've fallen behind on, and I've actually realized I don't have any sitting in my queue waiting for me. So that's a lovely change. I'm still kind of trying to figure out some of my knitting, crochet, and sewing projects. I want to do a little bit of sewing. Part of me wants to just dive right in with another quilt. I haven't done a quilt in, oh wow, the last quilt I finished was a year ago because I finished it for my birthday and it was a huge project and I just never picked another one up. So like part of me wants to do another one, especially as it starts to get colder here, but then I'm also like, do I want to start sewing again with a big project, or do I want to maybe like sew a project bag or two? So I haven't quite figured that out. I definitely still kind of have a little bit of an itch to start another blanket. I've got the yarn all ready, and I may cast that one on soon as just kind of a backup simple project. Working on the, I believe it's the Cozy Comfort Throw from A Homespun House. I have an advent calendar from last year. It's already organized and ready to go, and I think that that would be a really good like backup, because as far as I remember, it's all just like knitting, so all garter stitch, cast on and go, and then potential finishing work. It is a paid for pattern, so I wouldn't want to give too many details even if I had them, but I don't have the pattern memorized. But traveling for Thanksgiving, something like that might be a really good plan, because then I can bring it with me and it's a nice easy thing to work on while talking, but it may not be the most portable. So I haven't totally decided if I'm going to go ahead and cast that one on yet. And I actually am really considering casting on the, I'm not really sure that you could count it as an M-cal anymore, but the Stephen West Geo Gradient shawl. I've never knit anything by Stephen West. I think he has very beautiful designs, but they're a little bit more complex and finicky than I usually go for. So it's one of those where it's like I kind of watch what happens and go, oh wow, that's beautiful for someone else. A lot of the controversy that surrounded this one, I mean, if you know, you don't need it rehashed. If you don't know, there's other people that have explained it so much better than me anyways. When I first saw the first clue, I didn't see it. Once it was pointed out, I can't unsee it. So obviously I would have no desire to knit the original version, because I agree, I would not want anything that could be mistaken for that on my person. However, I did think he handled the entire situation very well, and the adjustment he made, I think it still looked very good. And it seemed, this one actually seemed like at least part of it was simple enough to give a little bit of an opening and a confidence for somebody who may not be a finicky knitter. I'm not exactly sure what colors I would use, but I do have quite a few hand-dyed Happy in the same base, in colors that would coordinate together. I'm kind of just trying to get myself at least through Halloween before I decide on the next project to cast on. Whether it's going to be socks, my Halloween night cast on project, a shawl, or a blanket, because not knowing what that Halloween night cast on is, if I decide, no, let me just cast on one of these this weekend so it's started, and then Tuesday comes and that pattern comes out and I'm like, no, that's the one I want, I now have two projects, extra projects on what I'm trying to like reduce. So I'm trying to keep my options open, but these are all things I kind of want to do. I'm not sure when I will do them, but they're all still like, I have the yarn, I have the desire, I have the patterns, I want to do it. So I guess in 2 weeks when I come back, you might know which one I do. Maybe none of them. Maybe all of them. I guess we will see. I like having my options open with the more time that I have now. So with that more time, that is actually all that I have today. Thank you so much for sitting with me this long. And I will see you again in a couple of weeks. Hopefully with some more finished objects. Probably with some new cast-ons. We'll see where I am. Until then, have a very wonderful day and have some happy making.